My name is Dana Andrews, and I've got a secret.
I've Got a Secret, brought to you tonight by Bristol Myers, makers of Bufferin, the modern pain remedy that gives you fast relief without upset stomach. Bristol Myers brings you America's #1 panel show, I've Got a Secret, starring Garry Moore.
Thank you so much. Welcome to this, our first show in 1960. I would like to have you meet the delightful members of our panel. Their names, as though you didn't know, are first Bill Cullen, and next to him is Betsy Palmer. There's Betsy. And I hope you won't applaud as we take a picture of this sad little empty chair, but we hope you will welcome home once again Bess Myerson. That's our bunch. Now, panel, before we meet our first contestant, there is some old business to be taken care of. You recall, friends, that last week we had a gentleman on our show who had flown all the way to London and back in one day for his Christmas dinner. But it turned out that he never got that dinner. The British newsreel photographers kept removing the plates in order to photograph the entire meal, and they just didn't have time to let him eat the whole thing. Well, we felt that no one should be deprived of their Christmas dinner, so we sent that great humanitarian, Henry Morgan, to London to bring the meal back to our contestant. Now, in spite of what must have seemed like Henry's reluctance here on our show last week to go, he was really quite anxious to make the trip, and we made a reservation for him to leave New York last Friday morning. New Year's morning, after New Year's Eve. Now, we had a cameraman out at the airport who made a documentary film of this departure. So, Frank, if you roll it, we can watch it on this monitor center stage, please. Now, there is the jet clipper that Henry was to board on Friday morning. Quite an impressive aircraft. And here we see some of the passengers boarding the plane, some of his fellow travelers. And there's the stewardess and the steward looking for any stragglers who might be around, waving the latecomers on. But finally, everyone is aboard, and they close the doors of the plane. And it's quite a job, but there the great tin bird is ready to go across the ocean. And believe it or not, exactly 6 hours and 25 minutes later, that clipper arrived in London without Henry. True to form, Henry goofed. He missed the plane. Did you know that? He missed the plane. He was so excited about the trip that he couldn't sleep all night. Fortunately, he did get some sleep the next morning, just when he should have been getting on the airplane. But, however, our intrepid ambassador was undaunted, and he did make it out the next day. So, Frank, may we roll a picture of that film, please? This is Saturday morning at the airport. The following Saturday following that Friday, obviously. And here we find Henry out, walking out to the plane and looking things over, making sure that everything was just the way he wanted it. You know how he is. And finding this great aircraft to his liking, we see him going up the stairs with jaunty gait, you see? Of course, at the top, he slowed down, not quite as young as he used to be, you know. Here we see, all of his usual grace, waving goodbye to America, giving it back to the Indians. And he did arrive in London 6.5 hours later. So, panel, now that I have filled you in on some of Henry's exploits, are you ready to play the game?
Yes, we are.
Well, then let us then meet our first contestant. Will you come in, please, sir? Now, then, would you tell us, please, what your name... Tell us, please, what your name is and where you're from.
My name is Garry Moore. I recently resided in London.
In London. Prior to that, what was your residence, sir?
Prior to that, I lived in the colonies in the city of New York.
In the colonies.
Colonies.
What was the purpose, sir, of your trip to London?
Well, sir, I was sent on a mission to bring back a goose dinner to the United States.
Did you carry out your assignment, sir?
Yes. I proceeded to the designated restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And I ordered a goose dinner consisting of 16 vegetable oysters, 2 Devon sole, 1 Norfolk goose, a Christmas pudding, black tea, Stilton cheese to take out.
And when did you arrive back in the United States with this goose dinner?
At 3 o'clock this morning.
Remarkable journey.
Yes, wasn't it?
Yes. Is there anything else then, sir, on your mind?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
I've got a secret.
Well, then, Googie, if you'll whisper it to me, we'll show it to our audience at the same time.
Delighted.
Panel, the clue concerns something that happened, and we'll start the questioning with Bill Cullen, please.
Something that happened, Googie.
Googie.
Hey, speak up, lad.
Sir, I understand the monocle, but it's that dueling scar that's bothering me.
Took a side trip to Wiesbaden.
This thing that happened to you, Googie, sir, was it a physical thing?
Yeah.
Was that no or yes?
Yeah.
It was physical. Did it involve another person?
not physical.
No, he said no. It
Oh, he said no. It sounds like excuse me while I change my notes. Was it something that the British populace knew about?
Yeah.
Is that no?
No.
And with $20 down and 60 to go, we go to Betsy Palmer, please.
I'm afraid I know what it is. You do?
Well,
I have a sneaking suspicion.
Disqualify yourself, madam.
Well, did it happen here in this country?
Yes.
Did it happen about 3 o'clock this morning?
Roughly.
I know what it is, and I have to disqualify myself. Oh, little gooses told me.
Oh, somebody you know told you?
Told me,
All right,
yes.
then we'll skip it, $40 down, and for that, we'll put the entire $40, Bess, on your shoulders, dear.
All right. Googie. This is very funny because these two are hysterical. Now, wait. It can only happen here. It happened here after you got off the plane?
Telephone.
After you got off the plane?
Yes.
Did it happen in the airport? Did it happen in the airport? Did it have something to do with your getting into the United States? Didn't they let you in?
No, it had
They let
nothing
him
to
in, but
do
who
with
didn't they let in? They let him in.
This is an unruly group.
Who else was you
So we
with?
have lost the whole $80, Betsy, dear.
Can I say what it is?
Yes, we've lost the $80.
Who told you?
You had to leave the goose at the customs office because you were so naughty when you came in.
Oh. Well, yes.
She has a version that even I don't know. But that's it. After trying to reunite one of our contestants with his goose dinner after flying all the way to London and back, Googie, will you tell them what happened at customs?
Yes. And, young lady, it had nothing to do with my approach to the problem.
I know something else about you, too, in England.
Was I happy? No.
You know what gave him away?
I'm answering the other question.
All right.
Making a terribly brave attempt, at any rate. When I arose at the customs.
A rove.
No, what they did, the man said, I'll confess, this is not who you thought it was. The man said, the customs inspector opened that, and he poked around. He said, what have you got in there? I said, food, that's all. He said, well, what kind of food? I said, well, I have 16 oysters and a couple of sole there and a goose. He said, what? I said, I have a goose, a Norfolk goose in there. He said, is it a whole one? Everything complete? I said, yes. He said, just a minute. He said, I have to get the agriculture man over here. So the agriculture man comes over. It's 3:30 by now, something like that in the morning. And they got one there. And the agriculture man comes over and he says, is that goose, has it got everything that belongs to it? And I said, yes, except the feathers. He said, well, I'm afraid, you see, the law is that you can't bring in Well, you know, you got to cook your goose, in effect. And I had thought I'd bring the whole goose because Mr. Porter owns a restaurant up there, and, you know, he could do what he wanted.
That's right.
So I didn't want to have it pre-cooked. I was being smart, see?
You outsmarted yourself.
So the whole trip is thrown out.
Well, not quite.
Except the other stuff, yeah.
Because we have the fish and the cheese and the tea and the pudding and all that, and we will send this meal to Mr. Porter in Panyan, New York.
Cost $33.
And at least he'll have part of his Christmas. Did you have any trouble getting it? You know, when you walked into the Mayfair restaurant in London, did you have any trouble getting the order?
I was in the middle of the afternoon. They weren't doing much. And I asked for the manager of the room. And he said, Mr. Gunzi. And he said, may I help you? I said, yes, being very polite. No, I said, sir, I need 16 oysters and 2 Dover sole and a Norfolk goose and a plum pudding and the thing, you know, to bring back to America. And I thought he'd throw me out or something. And all the man said was, that's an odd menu. That's all. And then I said, well, can you have it wrapped and everything so that He said, of course.
And he did.
And he did.
There it was to take out.
Yes.
Well,
I had to
all
wait
right.
a day. I mean, he did it for the following day.
We have some documentary evidence here which we would like to show you. Here's Henry on Piccadilly Circus. In London, not doing too well, apparently.
That's what happened. That's where it happened. What I know what else about you?
It didn't.
This is a whole other show, Betsy, I'm afraid. Here is a picture of Henry getting on an omnibus. Henry, you told me a cute story about this.
Yes. You see, a panel show like this is not, of course, shown in London. Nobody knows who you are, which is a little hurtful at first, but then you'll get used to it. So I was standing there hanging onto the rear platform of the bus for the photographer. And he's standing there waiting to take the picture, and a lady walking by says, now, why are they taking a picture of the bus?
Well, Henry, if you will take this, we will have it sent to Mr. Porter in the morning, and we say goodbye to Googie and welcome back to Henry. By the way, my friends, apropos of Mr. Googie Morgan's appearance here, I do have a reminder from the U.S. Immigration Service. All non-citizens are required to report their addresses every January. If you are a non-citizen and have not as yet complied, please go to your post office or immigration office and fill out the address report card. You folks will be seated and pull in close to me. I will ask you, please, to tell us what your name is and where you're from.
Mr. and Mrs. Gadman.
Brooklyn. Mr. and Mrs. Gadman, and they are from Brooklyn. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Gadman, incidentally, are celebrating their 25th anniversary this very day. Now, fortunate people, if you'll whisper your secret to me, we will show it to our audience at home. What? Well, their secret concerns something they are going to do. We'll start the questioning with Bess, please.
Mrs. Gatman, this thing you're going to do, by the way, congratulations to both of you. Does it have something to do with your anniversary?
Yes.
Are you going to do it today?
Yes.
Tonight? Right here on stage?
Yes.
Are we involved in any way?
No.
Is Garry involved?
No.
Are you going to dance?
No.
Not going to dance, and so this being their silver anniversary, there's $20 silver down and $60 silver to go. We go, please, to Bill Cullen.
Does it have, Mr. and Mrs. Gadman, anything to do with celebrating your silver anniversary? Is it a means of celebration, in other words?
Well, I would say it's part of their celebration, certainly. Part of the observance.
Are you going to, are there going to be other people involved other than yourselves, people who will be?
No.
All right, and there's $40 silver down and 40 to go. And Betsy?
Will there be something physical involved in what you're going to do?
In a way.
An object
Yes.
involved? Something besides the two of you, then?
Yes.
A cake of some sort?
Yes.
Oh, Bill told me wedding cake. That's marvelous. Now what do we do?
It's stale if it's 25 years
25. Is it?
Check the original,
Maybe it's a piece of your first wedding
original
cake?
wedding cake.
Your
Their
scoop
first and only wedding cake. Gee whiz. is. On your 25th anniversary, you only got $40. But Bill broke the rules. He whispered to Betsy, so that makes us forfeit the whole $80.
Yes.
Good.
And there you are, and
Thank you very much.
let's go and get this, huh? Now, Mrs. Godman, how did you happen to save a piece of your wedding cake? Let's get a picture of it. How did you happen to save a picture for 25 years?
Well, I knew I couldn't put it under my pillow, so I just kept it for sentimental reasons.
It is fruitcake, paradise fruitcake, made of all of the fruits of paradise, and has been kept under constant refrigeration for 25 years in spite of Mr. Gadman. I understand you've been trying to get at this, young man.
Would many times, but my wife always says, and so,
Well, save it for the 25th.
now if you want to save a piece of it for the next...
This is what I thought was so nice. You know, we were going to cut it in half tonight and each have a piece for the 25th, which is what they've been... Now, Mrs. Gadman has the long-range view. She wants me to cut it in threes, which I will now do.
More piece.
1, 2, and 3. She wants her husband to each, and she and her husband, of course, each to have a piece. This piece on the end is to be saved for their 50th anniversary, at which time they'll bring it back here. So, for you, Mr. Gadman, after waiting, look, he took the biggest piece, too.
I've waited long enough for it.
You've waited
For
long
our
enough.
children, son and daughter, and that's for our children.
Well, all right.
After we're gone.
Well, cheers, friends.
Does it taste as good as it did
tastes as
25
good as the
years
first
ago?
day.
Is it worth it? Worth waiting for, Mr.
And I've
Gadman?
been as happy as the first day after 25 years.
Now, let me tell you this. Mr. and Mrs. Gadman, we had planned, matter of fact, we have it right backstage, a beautiful 3-layer anniversary cake for them. But when Mrs. Gadman told me what she wanted to do, this is so far more eloquent than anything we could bring on, it seemed just anticlimactic. So we'll give it to you backstage after the show. Bless you both. Here's your 80 silver dollars. Above all, the congratulations of all watching in, I'm sure. Thank you so much. Now it is time to meet indeed a special guest for this evening, a gentleman who consistently delights motion picture and theater audiences wherever he appears with his fine acting. He's the star of the new Warner Brothers movie, The Crowded Sky. Here is Dana Andrews. Wow. That is quite a stack of cards you've got there. What are they?
It's New Year's resolutions, Gary.
Boy, if those are your resolutions, you must have had quite a 1959.
Now, these resolutions are not for me. They're for the panel.
Oh, well, now, that was very thoughtful of you.
I know that they've been pretty busy, and they probably, not one of them, took time out to make a resolution of his own.
I can guarantee you. Did you write all of these yourself?
Oh, no. These were written by the audience. Before the show went on the air, the audience was asked to write down a suggested New Year's resolution for each member of the panel. We have 4 different colors here, one for each member of the panel. This color is for Bill Cullen, and when he asks me a question, I'm going to include this suggested New Year's resolution in my answer to him.
In other words, you'll sneak this suggested New Year's resolution into...
I'll probably point some of them up, or I'll try to sneak them in order not to make them suspicious.
Well, this is not only will be fun, it'll be helpful to the panel. Let's send the panel back in, please, and see if they can guess that worked into these answers are suggested resolutions from the members of our studio audience. All right, here comes panel back. Hello, Bess. Hello, Betsy.
Hello there.
And Bill and Googie.
Come on, Doc. Sit down.
I'm sure you know Dana Andrews from previous appearances. Now, let's
Oh,
see if
well,
we can
that's
guess his
it.
secret. The clue concerns something that will be happening. Bill Cullen, we'll start with you.
Dana, will it be happening during the questioning?
Now, don't work too hard. Now, take it easy. I'm new at this.
All right.
Yes, it will be happening during the question.
All right, only one question at a time. We'll go around the panel
Oh,
twice.
right.
So now we go, please, to Betsy.
Does it have anything to do with your being a fine actor?
I'm going to suggest first, I've been watching this show, and I would like to suggest, Betsy, that you always wait your turn before you speak up. Will you remember that?
Well, it is her
Yes.
turn now.
But it
I know,
was
but
mine.
I take this opportunity to say that before I lose the opportunity.
I'm
It has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with my being an actor of any sort.
No. I'm not going to say anything more than
So,
that.
Henry, we go to you,
Now,
please.
one word more.
Does it have anything to do, Dana, with us?
Any of you?
Well, you might show a little more enthusiasm.
For what?
All right. Yes, it does have something to do with you.
I'm the only one on this show who can speak mean to Betsy.
All right, so we'll pass to
can.
you. You can be mean to Betsy as we go on to Bess.
Dana, have you been watching this show? Have you been watching this show?
Have you been watching this show?
Yes, I mean other Wednesday evenings. Have you been sitting at home or... Oh, you can't. You're at the
Oh, I
theater.
have, on occasions, yes.
You have
lots
on
of times.
occasion. Because you seem to be making suggestions to all of us about something we're guilty of.
Only indirectly. I would suggest that you keep right on asking intelligent questions, no matter what they do. You keep on asking the intelligent questions.
Oh, boy.
So, from Bess, we go now to Bill. From Bess, we go to Bill Cullen.
I have a theory that I've just... Dana has actually captured most of our traits on the show. For instance, I'm a hard worker. Betsy butts in.
Oh, come on.
I ask intelligent questions.
No, you lack enthusiasm.
Oh, I got to make that clear.
And Bess is aloof. She ignores the rest of us and goes on like it's a living, you know.
And you scratch your head and chew your
bite-
pencil. You might stop that.
So, what would be your supposition then as to the what Dana's secret is? Let's go on to Betsy. I know how to keep a show moving.
No. Yes, I'll talk to him. All right. Because, are you making New Year's resolutions for us, Dana? Actually, he's getting even because I called him Dane Clark earlier. Is that it? Are you making resolutions for us?
The
Really,
answer to
Dana?
that is no, but I would like to suggest that you stop asking Henry what questions to ask.
Henry's my pal. I need
But you
him.
ask a question, was I making New Year's resolutions for you?
Right.
The answer to that, technically, is no.
Technically.
So, we go to Henry Morgan.
Well, then
With a
you're
little enthusiasm,
suggesting resolutions we should make
Yes.
by a roundabout kind of...
Suggestions are being made. How's that?
You know, you have a very nice smile, Henry. Why don't you smile more often?
Don't, Henry.
Why don't you tell me a joke?
What would be the answer to that, Jerry?
I think, as a matter of fact, that we have gotten close enough to it. You know that he is suggesting New Year's resolutions. They do not come from Dana. He would not be so presumptuous as to come on and suggest
That's
these
why
things
we
himself.
don't like it.
We invited the members of our studio audience before airtime, each to submit a suggestion for anyone he had in mind. One for Betsy, and one for Henry, one for Bess, and one for Bill. And these suggestions all come from the members of our studio audience. Now, without letting them see the color of the card, because by color they might catch on, I thought it might be fun in our remaining minutes here to read just some at random. And we can pick them out of the bottom, the middle, anywhere. It doesn't make any difference. Just, and the panel guess who this is for.
This is a good one. Comb your hair.
Henry.
Thinking very loudly. It's for you, Bill. Those who've seen the past shows will get a kick out of this. I'm going to learn how to milk a cow.
Oh.
I think we know that's
Here's
for
another
Bess.
one of the same one. Stop talking when you shouldn't talk, and more when you should.
That's me, I guess.
Surprise, surprise, Mr. Morgan.
What?
Welcome home, Googie. We have 1 minute. Now, let's guess on this one.
I should continue aggravating the rest of the panel.
Gary. That's so true, it hurts.
Oh, really?
No, it wasn't there. We'll pass that one by.
Here's one. I resolve to scowl at least once a day.
For whom would that be? I resolve to scowl
Me.
at least once a day.
No, Bess.
Me.
Bess?
Yeah.
Me.
Betsy.
It's for Betsy. It could apply. It could apply in 3 cases.
Don't lose your temper.
Henry.
That's not me, boy.
That's right.
It's Henry.
We have time for a little bit more.
Tint your hair.
Who would have been suggested to tint your hair?
No, that's a girl's...
Now, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings in the audience. We have no names on this. We don't know who sent these in. But I'm against that. I'm against that. That's for Bess, of all people. For Bess to tint her
She has
hair.
lovely hair.
That's silly.
What? Well, we've got to cut. Gee, what would they like
I'm
you?
very
I like you
curious.
just the way you are. Don't
Maybe two tones.
Don't
Green.
change it. Green. We've got to knock it off. Dana, this has been fascinating. Thanks very much. Regards to your family.
Thank you very much, Gary.
Speaking
It's been a
for
pleasure.
Dana Andrews, for the panel, and all of us, be very kind to each other, will you? And goodbye.
I've Got a Secret was brought to you by Bristol Myers, makers of Ipana, now with germ-killing hexachlorophene. Ipana kills decay germs by the millions. And by Bufferin for fast pain relief without upset stomach. Be sure to watch Bristol Myers show Alfred Hitchcock Presents. See your local listings for time and station. This is John Cannon speaking.
My name is Dana Andrews, and I've got a secret.
I've Got a Secret, brought to you tonight by Bristol Myers, makers of Bufferin, the modern pain remedy that gives you fast relief without upset stomach. Bristol Myers brings you America's #1 panel show, I've Got a Secret, starring Garry Moore.
Thank you so much. Welcome to this, our first show in 1960. I would like to have you meet the delightful members of our panel. Their names, as though you didn't know, are first Bill Cullen, and next to him is Betsy Palmer. There's Betsy. And I hope you won't applaud as we take a picture of this sad little empty chair. But we hope you will welcome home once again Bess Myerson. That's our bunch. Now, panel, before we meet our first contestant, there is some old business to be taken care of. You recall, friends, that last week we had a gentleman on our show who had flown all the way to London and back in one day for his Christmas dinner. But it turned out that he never got that dinner. The British newsreel photographers kept removing the plates in order to photograph the entire meal, and they just didn't have time to let him eat the whole thing. Well, we felt that no one should be deprived of their Christmas dinner, so we sent that great humanitarian, Henry Morgan, to London to bring the meal back to our contestant. Now, in spite of what must have seemed like Henry's reluctance here on our show last week to go, he was really quite anxious to make the trip, and we made a reservation for him to leave New York last Friday morning. New Year's morning, after New Year's Eve. Now, we had a cameraman out at the airport who made a documentary film of this departure. So, Frank, if you roll it, we can watch it on this monitor center stage, please. Now, there is the jet clipper that Henry was to board on Friday morning. Quite an impressive aircraft. And here we see some of the passengers boarding the plane, some of his fellow travelers. And there's the stewardess and the steward looking for any stragglers who might be around, waving the latecomers on. But finally, everyone is aboard, and they close the doors of the plane. And it's quite a job, but there the great tin bird is ready.